start, fair disclaimer, a trigger warning. This could be triggering for some. Also, if there are any children below the age of 18, I request them to be accompanied by a trusted adult for this talk. Thank you. Let's begin with a simple exercise. I want all of you to go back to your childhood. Think of a memory where you truly felt voiceless, helpless. You wanted to express something, but you weren't able to. It could be anything. Something as simple as wanting something dearly, or not wanting to recite that poem or sing that song for the guests in your house that day. Or maybe it was that irritated child inside you who wanted to push that relative away, who every time visited you would pull your cheeks so hard that you would have tears in your eyes, but you still had to fake a smile. Whatever it is, hold this memory from your childhood when you felt helpless and you couldn't truly express what you were feeling. What is this memory? What are the feelings associated with this memory? How are you feeling now, remembering this memory? And even more important, what would you have done if you were in a similar situation now? As adults, we've all found our ways to voice out our disagreement, our anger towards a situation in the strongest of words and actions. But I'm sure as a child, you must have felt a plethora of emotions, from feeling powerless, feeling irrelevant, to feeling confused, angry, suffocated, and sometimes sad too. And yet, having absolutely no way to express it. And even if you found a way, either it went unnoticed or it was given the least of importance because you were a child. I'm Chhavi Dawar and I'm a child rights activist. This is what I do. I give voice to every child so they can powerfully express themselves. Especially when they are in uncomfortable and suffocating environments. I also empower the adults in their ecosystem to see these children as individuals with rights. I have traveled a very long road to be where I am today. I started my journey as a child rights activist and a social educator in 2017. But I like to believe that the plan of the universe to have me where I am today, doing what I do today, started much before that. I was 6 years old when I was sexually abused by my family's domestic help. Too young to understand and having absolutely no language, believe me, no language to tell adults around me what I was going through. The abuse soon became a distant memory of the past, a subconscious memory. It was only years later that in grade 10th, when I was going through a sex ed education session, that the memories of the abuse came haunting back. What started from there were some very difficult teenage years, with depression, anxiety attacks, feeling lonely, to anger issues, emotional dysfunction, and some very vivid thoughts and actions to end my life. It took me 2 decades to come to terms with it, and my journey from a victim to a survivor started when I met my mentor, Ramesh, from Break the Silence. Break the Silence is a citizens' initiative where we have come together and felt the need to empower children and adults and talk around the topic of child sexual abuse. Break the Silence was my way of embracing the fire within me for the better good. The biggest realization that it got to me was that I am not alone. This sense of community gave me the courage and passion to do what I always wanted to do: give every child a language to understand and report abuse at first contact. I truly believe that the future of this nation depends on the tender shoulders of its younger generation. The quality and security that we give to their childhood today determines the quality of their adulthood. And therefore, as adults, it becomes the responsibility of each one of us to give them a secure and healthy childhood. But is the childhood of our children really at stake? Well, a survey conducted by National Crimes Report Bureau in 2018 reported 109 children were sexually abused every day. 109 children every day. This was a 22% jump from the previous year. In 2019, these numbers jumped by 4.5%, and they still keep on increasing. With such statistics, can we really choose to be silent? Can we really not talk about it? Let's begin by understanding what child sexual abuse is. The World Health Organization defines child sexual abuse as involvement of a child in a sexual activity for which they are not fully developmentally prepared for, or for which they cannot give an informed consent for, or that which violates the law or social taboos of the given society. As adults here and as adults worldwide, I think it's our responsibility to understand the whole spectrum of child abuse, but especially of child sexual abuse. It ranges from non-contact abuse, where there is no touch involved, like online abuse, like showing children sexually explicit material, to contact abuse, where there is fondling, sexualized touching, and of course, penetrative assault and rape. Do you know, 80% of the cases, 80% of the times, the perpetrator sexualizes the relationship much after in the process of grooming. Before that, the perpetrator isolates the child, gains the trust of the child, and then maintains a control over the child. This process of grooming has some very key signs that adults can look out for and save children from facing the worst. Believe me, every child is different, and when they are facing a pain or when they are going through something disturbing, each one of them will express in different ways. Therefore, it is important for adults to understand the indications of CSA, to understand the psychological, behavioral, emotional, sexual, physical indications and impacts of CSA. I truly believe in first empowering the adults and then talking to children. Because if I empower a child and the child chooses to trust their trusted adult and disclose their abuse to them, I want this adult to be absolutely prepared and receptive to help the child in the best possible way. Therefore, I always choose to do sessions for parents, teachers, and school support staff before I talk to children. I started my journey as a personal safety educator for children in March of 2017. Since then, I've had thousands of sessions with students, children, parents, and other adults in schools, colleges, communities, and corporate offices, both online and offline. Over the years, my curriculum for children have adapted to be gender neutral, age appropriate, and activity based. What I do with children is simple. I associate in an age-appropriate way the concepts of personal safety, private space, and consent to their day-to-day experiences. And then I bring in the concept of private body parts, of touch. What's the importance of touch? What are feelings? How to associate feelings with touch, and use this information to identify if a touch is safe, unsafe, or a confusing touch, and what to do in each of these cases. Once the children are confident about this empowered information, I take them through the personal safety rules and empower them with the power to say no. Now, what are these personal safety rules? These are simple. I'm going to lay it out for you. Rule number 1, nobody is allowed to touch, look, or talk about your private body parts. except to keep them safe. For example, it's okay for a doctor to check them, but only in the presence of a trusted adult. Rule number 2, no one, and this is without exception, no one can ever ask you to touch, look, or talk about their private body parts. Rule number 3, if in any event rule number 1 or 2 is broken, or both are broken, shout a clear and powerful no. Get away from the situation, go to a trusted adult and tell them, and keep telling them until they listen. It's not your fault if somebody is breaking these personal safety rules, and it's okay if you cannot say no in that very moment. Keep saying no in your mind. Get away from the situation, talk to a trusted adult as soon as you can. Keep telling them until they listen. Rule number 4, it's never okay to keep a secret regarding your body, especially regarding to your private body parts. If a person is making you feel unsafe and asks you to keep it as a secret, shout a clear no. Get away from the situation, tell a trusted adult, keep telling until they listen. Now I have laid down these 4 rules to you almost exactly how I tell this to children. You might have noticed I have reiterated a line. Go to a trusted adult, tell them about the abuse, and keep telling them until they listen. Unfortunately, we as adults have become non-responsive to the ways children express themselves. A child does not have a language to come and tell you that they have been touched in a sexualized way. They're too innocent for that. They will tell you in actions and behaviors, and you as adult need to be receptive to that. Therefore, let's as adults create these secure, safe spaces where our children can truly express themselves as to what they are feeling. And always, almost always, keep the lines of communication open with them about almost all topics, but especially about their bodies, safeties, and sexuality. I cannot emphasize on the importance of parents having these conversations at home. When they do that, the message the child gets is home is a safe space and I can talk about anything. It's been 6 years. It's been an inspiring journey. I've empowered several adults to be allies in this fight against child sexual abuse. I've worked and collaborated and supported several other adult survivors of child sexual abuse. I've trained students and volunteers to be personal safety educators like me. And most importantly, I've empowered children with the power to say no and stay safe. Today, Break the Silence is India's largest online campaign where around 3 lakh signatures from citizens of India asking the government of India to have these personal safety lessons in all schools yearly. I presented this petition to the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights and they support the mission. They've invited me to come join them and design these curriculums for across the nation. I invite you to sign this petition and be part of the movement. No pain can ever heal itself unless you accept it for what it has caused, endure it, and move on to do something so that nobody else has to go through the same pain again. I will be lying to you if I say I have healed completely. I have not. I still have my trigger points. But empowering that child, empowering that adult survivor, each time I do that, I heal a little bit more. Nothing, absolutely nothing in this world gives me more happiness than empowering a child. Seeing the trust, the courage, and love in their eyes, in their empowered eyes, makes me stronger. Listening to their stories of how they utilize the information they got in these sessions to stay safe independently makes me want to do this more and more. I live for only one mission, that no child has to ever suffer in silence, not knowing what is happening, or feeling trapped, helpless, or voiceless in any way. I don't want to die anymore. Those vivid thoughts of ending my life don't visit me that often. But when the time comes, when I really have to go, when I have to die, I want to die in a world that's safe for our children. That's the dream, my only dream. And today here, I invite each one of you into my dream. Become change makers of your own communities. Start a conversation. Break the silence. Thank you.